Everyone. Well, actually, hello, Facebook people. Give me a second while I set up my Instagram since I'm going live on both again. All right. Hello, Instagram people. Hello, Facebook people. I think I'm live on both right now. Thank you so much for showing up. This is my bi-weekly social media live. I go live every 2 weeks. On my Facebook business page and on my Instagram for my business to share with you some tips and tricks and help you with your business, with your website, in what I can. So today's topic is auditing your website. Disclaimer, this auditing your website is for beginners. This is not, like a website audit is something that's very big and has a lot of steps. It goes through a lot of meticulous things, and I do recommend that if you need a website audit because you're having like problems or you want to improve like a lot of things, you do it professionally. But I will share with you some things that you can do yourself in the meantime while you're like just growing your website, if you can't afford it yet, or if you don't really need a big audit, you just need to be able to know how to find issues and fix them. I'm gonna give you some tips on that, help you optimize your website. This topic is closely related to what we talked about 2 weeks ago, which was user experience. Actually, user experience is one of the things I will bring up shortly during this live. But if you want to know more about it, my live from 2 weeks ago is available. I'll be sharing all the links that and because I'll share with you the link to my last Facebook live, but I also share with you some links that I'll be talking about throughout this live. And I will have them in my Facebook post, and I will also include on Instagram a link on my link in bio so that you can find those links as well. So I think we're ready to start. I have a bit of a different setup. You might have noticed I actually just like moved my desktop and my things a little bit because 2 weeks ago we had like a big problem with the light and I was looking really weird. So I'm hoping this light situation is a bit better. Light still looks more blue on Facebook, and it looks yellow on Instagram, but at least you can see me, not just white spots. Oh, and I had just Jenica joining. This is awesome because I actually was just talking to her like literally 5 minutes ago, and because of her I'm in a really good mood right now. My energy is way up, so let's hope that comes through to all of you watching. All right, so today's topic, like I said, is auditing your website for beginners. I'm gonna share with you 5 tips that you can implement yourself, and let's start with number 1. And number 1 is having your SSL. So you might be like, what is SSL? So when you're browsing websites, sometimes you see that on the browser bar where the addresses are written on, there is usually a lock. For example, if you're now on Facebook watching it, if you look up on the browser, you're gonna see there is a little lock. That means that that website is secure. But sometimes instead of the lock, you will find that it says not secure. And that can be a bit scary. It's actually not like a huge deal unless you are handling with people's payments, people's private information, because that means that you don't have the security and enough security to actually process those things without posing a security threat. But as of last year, websites like Google and some other search engines are actually just wanting to make sure that every website has SSL enabled with e-commerce and with private information or not. So that's why it's important for you to have it, because not having your SSL enabled might make your rank lower. People that don't know exactly what it's about will just see that banner that says not secure, and they're gonna be like, oh, this is not secure website. Jenica, I hope you have a good night. Thanks for hopping in, even though it's so late. And thanks for being here, and have a nice rest. But yeah, yeah. So Google and some other places are taking this very seriously, which is why now all the websites, no matter what kind of information they handle, should have their SSL. But what a lot of people don't know is that you actually can get free SSL from many places. I actually didn't know that at first, and I just purchased a big package for mine that's still working. So I haven't been able to just like go and claim a free one. But depending on your hosting, you might be able to just get a free one. Your website is something it's a small website, like what a blogger or what a small business would have. You don't have like a big membership. Then you can use just the SSL that your hosting can provide. Some host providers do charge a small fee. Some other ones provide it for free. For example, SiteGround lets you enable SSL for free, so that you don't even have to, like, it's part of what they offer. So that's something really good to know. And where I'm at, they offer it, but I didn't know it, so I ended up actually buying one, which is okay. Like, if you think about it, like the one that I bought is actually a bit of a higher level than the free one, so it lets me have multiple websites under it, because I have several domains and subdomains, so they all can be protected with it. But I know better next time that I can also get a free one, because it is pricey. I probably pay about 100 something a year, which is not a ton, but it can be if you're a small blogger or a small website business with a website just starting up. So be aware, like, you do need it. It will affect you otherwise, but it's something that you can get for free. Now, if you are wondering if your website has it or not, there's a very quick way to find it out. There's a lot of websites that you can just like have your website checked, because sometimes enabling your SSL is not the only thing. Like, you might enable it, but it might tell you that there's an error, that there's mixed content. You have to make a few changes on your website to make sure that all the content that's being delivered is being protected by that locket. And so, for example, there's a service called SSL Checker. You can just put your domain in and have it check your SSL, and it's gonna go through your website, telling you what links, what images, what content is not being delivered over that safe locket, and then you can go and change it so that your whole website will show with the little locket instead of saying not secure or mixed content. So that's a posting. Once this live is over, I'm going to be posting on Facebook, but it's sslshopper.com/ssl-checker.html. It's a bit of a long address. That's why I'm going to post it, so that you can reference it later, and you can run your website through it for free and see if there's anything that you need to change on your website, so that your SSL locket actually works. By the way, if you're wondering what SSL means, it's actually just Secure Sockets Layer. So that's what it means. And yeah, that's tip number one. Tip number two is your website speed. A lot of websites load very slowly. I'm a bit guilty of it sometimes, because I like using very big images with very high resolutions. So it's good to go and use like speed checkers that are available online, so that you can see how long it takes people to load your website, because we all know that if a website takes a lot of time to load, we're just gonna leave it. We're not really gonna try very hard, unless it's like something that we can get anywhere else. So, for example, gtmetrics.com, you can use that place. Same thing as with the SSL checker. You put your URL in, you ask it to check on it, and it's gonna take a bit, because it's gonna load your whole website, and it's gonna like measure what is making it slower. And so there are different things that you can do to fix it. Like, when you look at it, it's gonna give you file names. It's going to tell you that it might be your CSS or your JavaScript. So there are things where you might be able to make changes, and there are things where you might not be able to make changes, and you might need the help of a professional. But so one thing that I do, because I know that's one of the issues that causes my website to be slow, are big images. And I'm not going to stop using big images because I like creating big images. So what I do is that I have a plugin on my WordPress called Smush. I'm going to share the link with it in the comments. And every time I upload an image, Smush goes through the image and deletes any necessary information from the file. When I'm saying deletes unnecessary information, it's not actually going to delete any part of the image. It's going to delete background information that is part of the file, the size and the quality, so that it's still going to be good quality for web use, for like it's not going to affect how it looks, but it's just going to get rid of everything that is unnecessary for it to be on my website. And that way it decreases the size by quite a bit. You'd be surprised. Another thing you can do is if you see that a lot of the issues are related to the CSS, to the JavaScript, to the coding in general, and if you're not an expert in coding, you might want to ask for help. But that's something that a WordPress developer or maybe a WordPress designer, depending on their skills, might be able to do for you, help you put all the CSS together, not in separate files, because otherwise that's more files for the website to load, stuff like that. Lastly, speed can also depend a lot on your hosting. So do good research on your hosting. If you are fixing other things and it's still loading very slow, you should look into reviews. What are people saying about your hosting? Is it can it like, people will tell you if a problem that keeps coming up is speed, and then you might want to change, move somewhere else that might provide better speed. See, my third tip is responsiveness, and that's actually one of the things that I talked about yesterday in my Instagram stories. I even showed you a little tutorial on how to use Google Chrome to inspect and find an easy way to see how your website looks on different mobile and tablet sizes, and really any size you want to try out in general. But make sure that things work. I was telling the story of my stories a couple of weeks ago that I was interested in someone's services. I'm like, oh, she might be the kind of person that I need to get this done. And I visited her website on my phone because I was just in bed thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, she might do that. And I just went onto my phone, looked it up, and I couldn't access her menu. I kept clicking on the icon and it wasn't working. And so I just left. I wasn't about to go turn on my computer just to go check that on the desktop size. If your website is not optimized for mobile, people will leave. And that's losing business, that's losing readers. So make sure that you check your website on different devices. Make sure that your menus are working, your footer is working, that everything is still readable. That's a big part of what an audit is too. It's how people experience it on mobile devices. Fourth tip is checking on your SEO, your search engine optimization. So there is a lot to SEO, and I can only give you like quick tips that will help you when you're starting out. But I use the Yoast SEO plugin for WordPress, and it helps me by telling me there's like a little light. A little light sounds weird. Let me explain this. Like a little street light with a red and a green. And so depending on my content, it's telling me if I have a red, it tells me that the content, the way I'm writing it, to make it, to optimize it more for search engines. And if it's on green, then it actually means that I'm like on the right way. Furthermore, when I scroll down, it actually tells me what kind of things, what kind of issues I have, what kind of things I can improve on. Something that happens rather common to me is that it tells me that paragraphs are too long, or that I have too many run-on sentences. And so I can go and change those things, and that makes it more readable. It also tells me when my images don't have alt attributes, when I'm not using the keyword enough times, when I'm not having enough links, when I'm not having enough headlines. So it makes sure that your content is optimized, not only for search engines, because yeah, it's for search engines, but also just for people to read it and have an easier way of reading through your content. So I love it, because even though it's not perfect, it's not a person after all that's going after it. It still picks up a lot of things that I can improve on. That's one of the things that plugin does for me. Another thing that plugin does for me, that it lets me choose how my website looks like how the preview looks like on search engines and on social media. For example, if I were to share my website here now on Facebook, I know exactly what image will pull up and what text will pull up, because Yoast SEO allows me to customize it so that it doesn't just pull it from the content on my website. It actually pulls it from what I tell it to do. And so you can do that with every single page, including your blog post, including your different posts on your website. Sorry, I just noticed I had a hair just flying up. So let's say for all the blog posts that you write, sometimes we want to start a blog post with a joke, or with by the way, last week this and this happened, and it might not be exactly what we want people to see when they are looking on Google trying to find something. Your blog post comes up and the first 3 sentences are not really related to it, then people might not click. But if you use Yoast SEO to tell it okay, when people look for this, don't tell them my first paragraph, tell them this other things. This blog post will talk about this and this. I'll go over this and this that will help you do this and that. That will be way more appealing. It can also, like I said, help you with the images, so that when people, if people are sharing your links on Twitter or on Facebook, it's not just gonna pull the random image of that one icon that's on the top of your website, or it's not just gonna pick your photo from your about section in your sidebar. It's actually gonna pick the image that you told it to pick, and in the dimensions that you want it to be. Some people I know use their Pinterest image as their featured image because they like the tall image to be on their blog post. But that image, if you put it on Facebook, it's just gonna be cut off. All the top and all the bottom is gonna be cut off. It's not gonna look good. It's not gonna be readable, especially because Pinterest images have text on it, and it's not gonna be readable if it's shared like that on Facebook. But with Yoast SEO, you can actually determine exactly how image you want it to be. It even suggests you what ideal size would work better for Facebook, so that you can do it that way. And yeah, and there's actually a lot more things you can use Yoast for, but this is what I wanted to cover up today. I have actually a blog post about it, with the exact tutorial of how to make Yoast SEO. Sorry, my throat's so dry. I guess it's because I was talking with my friend, as I told you right before this, and now this, I guess, introvert me is you're talking too much. Sorry, throat. But we'll continue anyways. So I'll share that blog post on Facebook as well, and I'll let Instagram to my stories know how to access it, because I have a more detailed tutorial on how to have Yoast SEO help you post things how you want them to be, with images and everything. Proper tutorial. So the 5th tip that I want to talk about very quickly is user experience. And this is something that instead of doing yourself, you could actually just ask someone to help you with. You can ask your roommate, you can ask a friend, you can ask your spouse. Just make sure to ask someone that is not very familiar with your website. Tell them to go through your website, either on their computer, on their cell phone, on both, and have them point out to you things that maybe are not working, things that maybe are working but look a bit off, things that they don't understand, any questions that come up. Having your friend share with you what their experience is like on your website, it's a very, very big part of like that audit that you're doing, because they will catch the things that you might not catch because you're familiar with your website, but they're not, and they will see those little things. And so those were those 5 little tips that I wanted to share with you today. I hope they're useful. Let me know if you have any questions. And throughout the coming next 2 weeks, I actually will be addressing some of those questions on my stories. I've been posting my stories on Instagram, and I set it up so that they're shared, so that you can see them on Facebook. I've actually don't use Facebook stories like by themselves. I'm still not used to that idea. But I've been sharing, I set it up so that my Instagram stories are shared on Facebook as well, so that that content comes over as well for you guys that are on Facebook. Lastly, well, like I was saying, this next 2 weeks, I'll be talking a bit more about these tips. I might go more in depth. So if you have any questions, just send me a private message and I'm gonna address it during my stories. And if this is too much for you, if you think this is something that you need, but you don't have the time to do it yourself, or you just don't want to bother, or you just don't know how and it's too techy for you, I can actually help you with that and more. I have site assessments and brand exploration plans that include a strategy call and me diving into your website, even behind the scenes, checking out how your systems are set up, so that I can help you find all those little things that you need to work on, that need to be stepped up, so that your business website, your blog, can just go up and shine how they're meant to. So if you want to learn more about it and how I could help you with it, just go to sarahobando.com/strategy. That's a link that I'll also be sharing with you on the Facebook description of this live, and on Instagram. Actually, if you go to the link in my bio, you will already find that there's an option there called strategy sessions. I offer these sessions very sparingly. Right now, I believe there are only 2 left for each, 2 for site assessments, which are just website, and 2 that are for brand exploration, where I do your website and also your social media, your newsletter, and anything else that you use within your brand. I will just like go through and analyze them and send to you an assessment of the plan that you need to follow to be able to make them top-notch again. So like I was saying, there's 2 spots for each left of what I'm gonna be doing between what's left of March and all of April. And I don't know yet if I'm gonna be opening spots during May and June, because it's the summer and things are a bit busy. So if that's something that you need help with, you should jump on it. Like you can like go and reserve a spot to use it, like not now, that's like weeks from now, but I do need to schedule them ahead of time. And lastly, I do have a website, a blog series called 5 Website Must-Haves that I'm gonna be linking. I believe it's also already linked in my link in bio. I'm just gonna go check right after this live, but it should be there. And on Facebook, I'm gonna add it to the description section as well, because I have different blog posts there that have even more information. Not all of these are included, but about SSL, and I talk about SEO and about the plugins that I recommend that you use, so that you can see more in depth of the information, how that information can help you. Those blog posts, they're usually recommended for specific things. So like one of them is for bloggers, one of them is for people who are just starting out, one of them is for small businesses, and I'm working on one right now that's going to be for e-commerce. I think that's the one that's coming up next. So it's a good blog series to follow. I think it will have some good tips that might help you in your business. And that's it for it. That's it for today. Oh man, words just get mangled weirdly when I'm talking, but thank you so much for watching. My goal was to try to keep it short because last time we were on for 40 minutes and then I was like, poor people. No one has 40 minutes, but seems like this time we are down to 26. So that's a good thing. Still providing you useful information, and I'm hoping that I'm not really doing a lot of fluff. If I'm doing it unconsciously just because talking can be hard sometimes. I hope some of you can relate to that. But I hope this could be useful, and I hope you can't hear my dog snoring. She's like snoring like right here. Okay, Facebook can see it like right there. Instagram, I think you could see it there. I think she heard that I said that she's snoring because she just stopped. But sometimes that's what I have to listen to while I'm working. My dog snoring and make me all jealous. But thanks for being here today. And see you around in my Instagram stories, in my Facebook stories, and I hope to see you in my life in 2 weeks. Bye. Okay, so disconnecting from Instagram first. Bye, Instagram. And now disconnecting from Facebook. Bye, Facebook. Oh, didn't actually finish it. There.